Hi there, this is H. Victoria Hargro Atkerson. I'm an author and a writer. I get a lot of questions about my background, and I thought I'd spend a minute or two talking about me. I am from the South. I'm a Southern black woman, came from Atlanta, Georgia. I'm in a family of nine kids were in my family. My mother, father, grandmother, you name it. We had quite a number of people living in a very tiny place in Fourth Ward. Um, we love family gatherings. We have family reunions like almost every year. Now it's like every 2 years. Uh, I loved the fact that we always found moments to be together and to just to fraternize and have a good time, eat terrific food. It started when I was a young child. Reunions have always been a part of my life because my grandmother had us at her house in Fairburn, Georgia. Big, beautiful oak tree outside. She had a well. She had outhouses. She had a garden. It was amazing. And I remember one of the things that I remember about my childhood, staying at her house during the summer, which was not the best thing for a kid growing up, especially as I went into my teenage years, because they went to bed like as soon as the sun went down. They got up at daybreak. So to go to bed like at 8, 9 o'clock in the afternoon for me at that time was like torturous, but I lived through it. Um, and the other thing was going to an outhouse. And this is a really interesting story. My uncle put a brand new bathroom because before this she only had an outhouse. And my sister and I were there to stay for the summer. Odessa, remember this? Uh, and we were not allowed to use the bathroom unless it was on Sunday. During the week, we had to go to the outhouse. I know it sounds crazy, but that was my grandmother. But we would take turns standing guard at night so we could go to the bathroom in the house. And I don't think she ever found out that we were doing that, but it was just fascinating. It was fascinating. The outhouse was a crazy, spidery, gooky place at the end of her garden that was like absolutely horrendous. So we always had to sneak to go to the real bathroom because we were not accustomed to outhouses. It was really crazy, but that was our childhood. um, and then just being a kid growing up in Atlanta, there were plenty of things to do. We had at one time we lived in the projects and we went to the creek all the time, and we used the inner tubes from tires as our little play toys that we played in the creek. And it was great. We went fishing, although we never caught anything. We went berry picking and all kinds of crazy stuff. We rode our bicycles until we were crazy. We went played uh, baseball and dodgeball and got very proficient at jackstones. It was really an interesting part of the life. And one thing that I used to love was playing with dolls and doll houses and paper dolls, things of that sort. So it was like a typical lifestyle for a little kid growing up in Atlanta. It was really interesting and great. But if you want to know more about my life, um, go to my website, www.hvictoriahargroatkerson.com. There's a short version of my biography, and then there's a long version. So you can kind of take it from there. And if you have any more questions, give me a call. I loved my childhood, and living in a home with all of these different people was like living in a village. So it was great. Had a great time, and I'm still enjoying all these crazy people in my life. We still have a large family, and we're still very, very close. So it was great. Now, I want to get down to some business here. Uh, these are the first two books that I published, which is Stones Along the Path, Part 1 and Part 2. Part 2 is one of my favorites because we traveled to the Kalahari with the bush people, and we learned some things about nature and the planet that we don't have in other places. Because one of the things that we need to do is to look back at the tribes of Africa and discover who they were, like, and how they lived in the rainforest, how they lived in the desert, how they lived in the villages that were close to the ocean. I think all that's really important and useful information. Okay? But Stones Along the Path is one of my favorite books because it's a wonderful romance between an African and a Peace Corps volunteer who is black from Philadelphia. And the characters, silent characters in this book is the cultural differences between these two people. And they have a very tumultuous relationship because of it. That's why we go from book one to book two, and book three will be out sometime later this year. It's a real gift, I think, to the reader, because the dynamics between this wonderful couple just goes on, and it affects everybody around them. You ever seen relationships that really take over people's lives, and no matter what, everybody's involved in it? Well, that's the kind of relationship they have. So take a look at that. The other book I have here is Buttermilk Bottom. Fascinating story about life under segregation and the Jim Crow laws. And it talks about the coping skills that one needs to live in a depressed area, in a depressed culture, under a depressed government. So it's really important that we take a look at that, especially now, because that seems to be resurfacing, and we're having to deal with these same issues, being profiled, being victimized, and being incarcerated. We have too many young people in our society today who are incarcerated. They're closing down schools, for God's sake, and building prisons. And they're putting our people in there, people of color, Spanish, Americans, African Americans, you name it. They're in these places. I volunteer there a lot because I like to be in touch with these children, just to let them know that someone cares about them. So, something that I think everyone should be involved in. And also, if we can start those petitions to get that man out of the White House that our people built, let's do that too. And in a city that our people design. Come on, we got to get rid of this guy. Okay? The next one is Walking Among the Kudzu, which is a real good study of adolescence and the difficulties that adolescents have in growing up in a problematic family. Her self-esteem is low, and she learned to love herself slowly as she go into a foster care program that allows her to become the person that she needs to be as an adult. So we look at that, and I think you're going to love it. The other book here is the latest one, which is Enslaved Part 1, and we have Part 2 coming out very soon. So those people who did not like the ending to Part 1, Part 2 will be out in about 3 weeks. So look for that, and let me know what you think of the ending, because I got a lot of blast about not having an ending to this one. They don't know what happened to the princess, and they got to know what happened. So those are the books that I published. I have a few coming out that are not yet published, but they will be out by the end of the year, so you should have a good selection of romantic novels that are historically based at your fingertips, okay? So do me a favor and like this program, and then push the red button and get a free subscription to my channel. They'll let you know every time I post a new video. So love someone special, and most of all, love to you. God bless.